Kim, starting with you. Is Hard Knocks a positive, negative, or there's that QR code? We're so fancy.
There we go.
Or a non-factor?
Oh my gosh. First of all, this is a great thing. This is a wonderful thing because that's why I raised the question, are the Jets lovable? Because we got an inside look into this team, a team that a lot of people are waiting to see falter. I find it interesting that the Jets were completely against Hard Knocks. They were like, we don't want these cameras, and they've done a complete 180. Robert Saleh wearing the I Love HK shirt. You got Aaron Rodgers like telling Liev Schreiber, oh, we were worried it'd be a little bit of a distraction, but they are loving it. I think this allows the Jets to show people who they really are, and that was the big question. We didn't know, is Aaron Rodgers going to be invested? Is he going to show up? Well, he's done more than that. He's shown up. He's been the greatest teammate thus far, and you see how guys have rallied around him, and I love the fact that we get a sneak peek into that. As somebody at this table who's been in that locker room for the dark days of Florham Park history, it was good to see the complete. You ready? You ready?
I'm ready to go.
You're like chomping at the bit.
Completely
Don't
ready.
worry. Listen, when I tee up talking, he doesn't even let me ask the question. He just gets after it.
Mad Dog, hit
Fire off.
negativity. Go ahead, babe.
When it's 24-3 Buffalo at the half
Wow.
on that first Monday night game,
Wow.
nobody's going to care about the lovable New York Jets. I can tell you that right. Listen, I agree. Rodgers has done everything right.
Yeah.
I didn't see all of it last night. I just saw the last 20 minutes. Zach Wilson's got no chance to be on the Jets down the road anyway. What difference does it make what he's doing? Because Rodgers is the quarterback. Yep. Let's assume at least the next 2 years, maybe even 3. Saleh's a good guy. They've handled the media well. I mean, it's a sanitized version because obviously the team's got complete editorial content. So you're not going to learn a lot from that scenario. And Liev Schreiber talking to Aaron Rodgers about surfing in Chico, California at the end of the contest. I mean, really? This is what I'm staying up to 11 o'clock, getting ready for the 3 lovely gals when I got to do the
One
show.
of these lovely gals stayed up to watch.
Did you? I give you credit. I did too at 11. I forgot all about it. I put it on at 10. Oh my God, what am I doing? Watching the Orioles blow a game to the Houston.
We'll get
to
into
later.
that. Yeah.
But I mean, the bottom line is, I don't think it's that big a deal one way or the other. I mean, it's curious. It's fun. Are the Jets now going to be lovable? Aaron Rodgers is going to be lovable? I mean, really? Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, you heard Kim's tweet.
Did you not see his little, the best part was his little, like, handshake with sauce. Like, the guy, we don't know Aaron Rodgers. All we knew is what he was in Green Bay. The Aaron Rodgers that has showed up in Florham Park has not been that guy. And we were very critical of that Aaron Rodgers, about how he acted and how his actions offset a lot of what the team was able to do financially, roster-wise. He's so charitable now. Yeah. Giving back $35 million.
The immunized days are over. Is that what
Inoculated.
The vaccination scenario from a couple years ago.
No one cares about that anymore.
All right, Courtney.
I guess not, but I mean, it's a non-factor all the way around. Remember when the Lions were on Hard Knocks last year, and all we remember from that first episode was Dan Campbell doing the up-downs? Anybody remember what happened after that? No. We like the one episode of Hard Knocks where we get the glimpse into the team, and then it kind of falls off. They've got 4 more episodes here. The reason that Aaron Rodgers came across as so lovable, editing helps, and they're trying to placate to him because they want him to be bought in through the rest of this process, so he's a willing participant. I like the crow analogy at the beginning. I thought that was, a nice little scene setter. I like the cameo. I think that was you, right?
The running
when you you scurried across in your little pink number. I love that. But
of course you were pink.
I don't think that this is going to tell us anything about the New York Jets this year. Last year, the Lions were 1-6 after they did Hard Knocks. Was it because of that? No. But you don't get much content out of this other than the
Do you feel like you're seeing
scenes.
a little chemistry, though? They're having fun.
Between Sauce Gardner and Aaron Rodgers.
We
yes,
know
that was fun
all
to
the
see.
tension that existed in Green Bay, part of the exit, and we're kind of seeing this mesh.
But I think that's what you see. But I think that's what you see. In all seriousness, that's what you see. Because the Lions had a rough start to the season, but you saw in Hard Knocks the type of coaches they had, the type of players they had, that at 1-6, they didn't falter. They actually finished the season, I believe, 8-2. I'm not saying the Jets will follow suit with the Lions, but you get a sense of this team and the bond that's there and how they're working to be better.
Yeah, listen, I saw the Raiders do Hard Knocks. Everybody thought I had the Raiders. I sat there and bet the Raiders with Fat Rob and
it's
Vegas
personal.
because I was so
always
wrapped
about
up with the
you and
Raiders and
those
they win 5
habits.
games.
Because you love
Yeah.
seeing Antonio Brown's, remember his flaky feet?
Oh,
that's
that's
all
right.
I got from that episode.
Oh my God.
So from that, I mean, to me, you can't get. You made a great point. 1-6 Detroit. Yes, they played great second half of the year. Did we learn about this resiliency in August watching
right.
Hard Knocks? I'm not so sure. Rodgers is lovable. He's done a great job. No argument.
Okay.
He's,
Clip that.
He
Rodgers is
he's done a great
Clip
job.
that right
Wow.
there.
Yeah, he's done a great job
Yeah.
this summer. You know, the contract.
He's
and
like
Taylor
Broadway Joe.
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
Taking the city by
great
storm.
thing near the beginning. You know, winning a championship in Green Bay, that trophy's lonely. Or winning a championship in New York with that trophy
Sounds
being
like you
lonely.
love
Name
the
it.
storytelling,
He's done a
Mad
nice
Dog.
job.
Sounds like
But
you
again, 24-3, Buffalo. Let's see what happens then.
Let's get the poll results. You know, I promised you guys that you would weigh in on the vote here. Wow, 64% positive.
Well.
Positive.
A lot of
I guess I lose that one.
voting on that
Negative
one.
Nancy's here.
A lot of good spin for Rodgers in the Jets. Chris, I feel like I should be calling you Charlie because it feels like Charlie's Angels edition right now.
Yeah, you know
Thursday.
what?
Do you feel like
With
Charlie?
Bosley, he was good on that.
Right, you're
Yes, he was.
Charlie.
I'm
you just
on
need to get
Charlie
to that
there.
little microphone thing.
Yeah, but Bosley was Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Tom Bosley. Yes, I could do that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's training camp. Players complain. It's no big deal. I think the real mistake here was Ron Rivera saying it to the media. And I think, like, coaches make mistakes, that's fine. And Ron Rivera deserves a pass because the last several years he's had to do a lot of to the media about things that he didn't want to talk to the media about, considering all the problems that were at Washington. But it's a real big mistake by him to bring that up because, of course, players are going to complain because training camp is awful. It's exhausting. It's terrible. You're practicing every day. And every team I've ever been on, Hall of Famers, star players, top players, complain amongst themselves and to the coaches. But what the coaches normally do is ignore it or explain why we're working as hard as we're working and we move on. They normally don't then go to the media and say, well, a lot of players are uncomfortable with the intensity. Like, it's just a weird thing that Ron Rivera did. And then he tried to correct it this morning by reading off of a cue card, which made it even more weird and uncomfortable. So Ron Rivera made some mistakes, which is fine. People do that. He'll bounce back and they'll be okay.
So when I initially heard the comments, my first reaction was like, man, these players sound soft. Complaining about the intensity being really high in training camp. But the reporter in me had to get to the bottom of this because my thought was, why would Ron Rivera let this go public? Because we all know coaches keep a lot of things in-house. Now, I was told in first week of camp, players were complaining about Eric, like, damn, this guy nonstop, foot on the gas all the time. But here's the thing. Ron Rivera specifically brought Eric Bieniemy to Washington for that change, for that culture shock, to raise the level of intensity, to raise the level of play, because Ron Rivera knew what we did on offense last year wasn't good enough. But unfortunately yesterday, Ron Rivera's comments undermined Eric Bieniemy when he really should have just said, when players, you know what, players have mentioned Eric's style and the fact that he's full go all the time. But you know what? That's why he's here. I love Eric Bieniemy's mantra of get comfortable with being uncomfortable because a lot of you got too comfortable. That's what Ron Rivera should have said, because I can tell you, since those early complaints, nobody's complaining now. The Commanders have actually had their best practices of camp on Sunday and Monday. And the tempo's better, the offense looks better. So guys are buying into what Eric has been doing. That's why I think these comments were so unfortunate, because Ron Rivera, he undermined Eric Bieniemy, and Eric Bieniemy, as we all know and we've all talked about, he's become the poster child for the inequities within the NFL's hiring process. And here's a guy who has 2 Super Bowl rings, more than Jack Del Rio and more than Ron Rivera. And we're talking about him like he has to change something. He's not the problem.
And he played in the NFL.
He's
played
not, Eric Bieniemy is not the problem in Washington.
Yeah.
The problem in Washington is that things haven't been up to par, and Eric Bieniemy is coming in trying to change that.
Yeah, I have no problem with it whatsoever. I mean, the Washington team has been a bad offensive team for a long time.
Yeah.
If he's the guy that go in there to spur him up a little bit, that's great. It's a big year for him. Remember, the chief general manager, assistant GM, took the job in Chicago and didn't even interview Bieniemy for the head coaching job. He brought the kid in. He brought the kid in from Indianapolis. So the fact that a guy who knew Bieniemy didn't even bring him in for an interview a couple years ago when he became the head coach of the Bears tells you that Bieniemy had to get out of Kansas City, get away from Andy Reid because it's kind of his offense, go somewhere and do his thing. So that's what he's done. He deserves to have carte blanche to do anything he wants, and the players are going to have to get used to it. So I have no problem with it whatsoever. I'm with Kimberly 100%.
The interesting thing is that we're hearing a lot about culture shock across the NFL. Sean Payton in Denver, in Arizona. Players are saying, oh, we've never been coached. This is kind of crazy. But it seems to be only an issue publicly in Washington. And I think the reason you make changes on your staff, the reason you make changes in your front office is because things have not been good enough. And I understand that today Rivera tried to walk back his comments, or at least give clarity to what he was trying to say. But I think the damage was done publicly yesterday. It is no longer an issue behind the scenes. Rivera apologized yesterday to Bieniemy, said, that is not at all how I intended it. Eric Bieniemy, he doesn't care. He's real cool. He said, you know what? Let's move on. This is not a big deal. But I think publicly those comments went out, especially when Eric Bieniemy is a polarizing figure because of his history within the NFL.
That's why it was concerning to me, just that it would be harmful, because it took so long for him to even get to this point, which some would even call a lateral move. But like you were saying, he had to separate.
How to get out of there.
Yes.
Yeah. Nick, I'll give you the final word here.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to say is that that all that matters is how Eric Bieniemy's offense performs, and we'll forget all this. If the offense performs well, then he'll be fine. I would like to say that, but I don't sincerely believe that, because Eric Bieniemy has been on very well-performing offenses in the past, and no matter whether people want to give the credit to Andy Reid or not, that didn't stop people like Matt Nagy getting jobs out of there and other coaches getting jobs out of that system. So as much as I want to be encouraged about Eric Bieniemy fixing this offense, it would appear that given his track record, there's not a whole bunch he can do to change the way people view him. It's going to require them to open their eyes to see and appreciate what value he can bring.
Yeah, absolutely. Foxy, appreciate you stopping by and looking forward to talking to you a lot more this football season. Have a fabulous day, sir.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.